Hey guys, it's Tegan and welcome back to my channel. As you guys know from the title of this video, today I'm going to be giving you guys the highly requested Netflix recommendations.
'Cause you're so lovely, you're so lovely. I can't help but fall for you.
Because I literally got so many comments on my last one asking for an updated one, and for some reason the old one just hit 5,000 views, and a bunch of you guys have been asking for an updated one, so I'm like, you know what, why not? And with like coronavirus and quarantine, people are bored and constantly on Netflix, so here goes my list. I have 15 or so suggestions for you. So I also just wanted to say that everything on this list, they're all TV shows. There's a lot of good movies on Netflix, but I already have 15 things, so I thought that would be a lot if I did movies and shows. So these are all just Netflix TV shows that you can binge watch. Okay, so the first show is called The Society. This is probably my favorite show on Netflix right now. I'm literally so obsessed with it. I've rewatched it a few times already, and there are currently 2 seasons on Netflix right now. They're gonna come out with the 3rd season really soon in May, which I'm really excited for. So I'll just explain a little bit about the show. So basically it's about this like group of teenagers, or basically just like a high school, and they go on a trip to like wherever. They go on a field trip, and when they come back home, the town is completely empty. All their parents are gone, but everything's still there. And they, like, I don't want to give too much away, but they try to like find their way out of the town, and it's just surrounded by infinite forest, and they have to figure out a way to like live as like a society together. It's actually a really good show. So the next show is Riverdale. If you guys haven't watched Riverdale as of like now, like, where you been? But like, Riverdale's super good. I know it's a little bit like controversial because the show has like a lot of weird storylines and plot lines, but like in my opinion it's still worth watching, especially like the 1st season, because that season is literally so good. And if you've never seen it before, or if you've seen it like before, and I would suggest to go back and rewatch it, because Riverdale got like, I don't know, it's just like a fun show, and I'll explain like the basic plot again. So like, Riverdale is about this like group of teens, and it's like based off the Archie comics, if you guys know what those are. And I don't really know how to explain it, but they have like a lot of like weird stories, and like basically, so the 1st season's about like this guy who's found dead in the river, and they're trying to figure out who did it. So the 1st season's kind of like a mystery, but it's just like a good show. I also didn't mention that it has 4 seasons, so it's a pretty like good binge-worthy show if you're looking for something like that. So the next one is Gilmore Girls. I'm currently watching this right now on Netflix. I love this show. I haven't actually finished the whole show yet, but it's actually such a good show. I don't really know how to explain this either. I'm like kind of bad at this, but like, it's about this mom and daughter who live in like a small town, and it kind of like follows like their adventures. It may sound lame, but it's also like really funny, and they have like a lot of like fun adventures together. And there's also a spin-off, so there's 7 seasons, so it's like a good long show for you to watch. And there's also a spin-off on Netflix which is called Gilmore Girls: A Year in the Life. So if you guys want like a good long show to watch that's like super funny, and it's just like a super like fun show, and yeah, it's a good one. Next is Glee. I just finished watching Glee. I've never finished the show before, and I just finished watching it for the first time like a few months ago, and Glee is my favorite show ever. There are currently 6 seasons on Netflix, and it's about this like high school, like, it kind of follows like high schoolers and the Glee Club. So this also might sound lame, but like, you'll like fall in love with like the Glee characters, and it's really hard to explain why it's like a show about singing would be interesting, but like, there's a whole bunch of like fun moments in it, and they like all like the singing, and like the characters are mainly like the best part. It's like happy and sad and funny, and it's like really good. The singing part isn't my favorite, but I like the storylines and stuff, so that's why that's on my little list here. Okay, so the next show is called On My Block. This show has been getting super popular on Netflix recently. Season 3 just came out, like literally just came out, and ever since then it's been like recommended on my Netflix. So I decided to give it a try because I've never seen it before, and I started watching the show, and now I'm on season 2 of it, and I really like it. I don't really know how to explain this one either, but it's kind of about this like group of like friends who've like always like lived on the same block, so I guess like on my block, and there's a whole bunch of different storylines, but there's like different like friendships, relationships, and then there's like this like mystery about the like hidden money and stuff, which is kind of confusing. But overall, I really like the show. The characters are super fun, and so there are currently 3 seasons because they just released a new one and everyone's watching it, so I suggest you would too. So the next show is called Scream Queens. Basically, this show I watched like a few months ago. I haven't seen it for a while, but it's a super fun show. It's like a mystery, like a murder mystery kind of show, and you're trying to figure out who like the Red Devil is. I guess that's not really giving away too much. And you just like, it's kind of like a really fun show. It's set in college, and you're trying to figure out who is like doing all the murders and stuff, and it's not like too dark too. It's definitely funny, so it's not all about like murder mystery. That kind of stuff scares you. And there's a lot of like TikTok quotes from it, and Ariana Grande's in it too for like the first few episodes. Kind of like, so basically there is 2 seasons, but the first season is like way better than the second one. The second one's definitely kind of like worse, like a lot worse, and like not as good quality, but I really like the first season, and I guess the second season is still worth watching if you have nothing to watch too. So the next show is Pretty Little Liars. I actually haven't seen this show for a few months, but I watched it twice, and there are 6 seasons of this show on Netflix right now. And this show follows, this show is based off a book series called Pretty Little Liars, same thing, and it's based off this group of girls who is like it's like their life after one of the friends in the friend group, Allison, gets murdered, and they're trying to figure out like what happened. And then it's like set like a few months later, and they start getting these mysterious texts, and it's like this little mystery to try to figure out what happened, kind of. And it's kind of like a little bit of like a scary mystery sort of show, but it's also like super cool and like a nice like teen movie with like group of like friends and stuff. So it's just kind of like a in between like good show, and there are, like I said, there's 6 seasons, so it's a pretty long show too. So next is Vampire Diaries. I've watched this show many times, but unfortunately I just wanted to say that they took Vampire Diaries off of Canadian Netflix, which is where I live, but I've heard that it's on American Netflix. I could be wrong, but if it is, then I do recommend it, and I'll talk about it in a second. But if not, you could probably find it on a lot of other streaming platforms, but I just wanted to make that little disclaimer. So Vampire Diaries is this show about like vampires, and it kind of sounds like cheesy and stuff, that like it's about vampires, but it's a super good show. I think there's 6 or 7 seasons. I haven't finished the show because I was watching it on Netflix like a year ago, and then they took it off. But from what I do remember, it's a super good show, and there's a lot of like storylines and plot lines about like vampires, and there's like a love triangle between like the vampire brothers, Stefan and Damon, and it's like, I don't know, it's a good one. Would recommend if you guys have American Netflix or somewhere that has it on another streaming service. I wanted to pop in here really quick and just say that I'm no longer going to do like the video clips over top of the video, because it's taking me literally forever to find them and edit them, and I've been already editing this video for 3 hours, so I'm just not going to do that anymore. But I'm sorry about that, guys. Please keep watching. So next is Stranger Things. There are currently 3 seasons of this on Netflix, but a 4th one is scheduled to come out. I forget when, but it's gonna come out soon. And Stranger Things is about this like, okay, it's kind of like this like sci-fi friendship, kind of like, I don't really know how to explain most of this. I'm sorry that I don't know how to like word all of these shows, but it's kind of about like these friends, and there's like one of their friends gets like abducted in the first season, and then they try to figure out like a lot. Okay, if you can tell from the shows that I like, a lot of them are about like someone being abducted and like mysteries and stuff, because those are the kind of shows that I like watching. But this one is definitely different. There's a lot of like really good characters in this show, and I absolutely loved season 3, which came out this summer, and the whole show is definitely worth watching for sure. And if you guys haven't seen it, then I would highly recommend checking it out. So now I'm moving on to a couple of shows that like you guys recommended to me on my Instagram. It will be on the screen at teganolivia.youtube, and I post a lot of stuff on my story there, so if you guys want to be a part in like future videos, then be sure to follow my Instagram, and then you can participate in my stories and stuff. But I asked you guys on my story what shows you guys would recommend for me to put in this video, so I sampled one episode of each one of these shows just so I could recommend them to you guys as well. So the first show that got recommended a lot was How I Met Your Mother. How I Met Your Mother. So this show currently has 9 seasons on Netflix, so there's a lot of seasons of the show, and I sampled the first episode of it just to see if I liked it and to see if I could recommend it to you guys, and I definitely would. It's a super like comedy show, and it's like basically about this guy who's talking to like his kids about how they met his mother, and it doesn't really make sense in the beginning because I don't really know, but it's about this guy who like wants to get married, and then he's telling the story of how he met his kid's mother, and it's like this like up and down story, and there's like a lot of seasons of the show, and it's definitely like super hilarious, so I definitely would recommend this one as well. So someone also recommended Greenhouse Academy. I've been recommended to watch this show a few times, but I watched the first episode just to see if I liked it again, and I can't believe I've never watched a show before. It's actually like a super good show, and I'm definitely gonna keep watching it because it's about these like this like family, and the mom dies like on like because she's like an astronaut, and she dies like from an explosion on the rocket or whatever, and then it follows like the kids who like want to do like good things with their life because their mom was like so like talented and stuff, and she went to this like special boarding school called Greenhouse Academy, and then originally the son really wanted to go there, but then the daughter ends up getting into, and then they both are going to this school, and I don't really know much else about it yet because I haven't really continued it. But from what I know from other people, it's a really nice show, so you guys should check it out too. Next is Friends. I actually have never watched Friends before. I know a ton of people have, and if you haven't, then you should watch it too, but I've never seen it before, so I watched the first episode. It seems like a super fun show, and it's I watched the first episode, and there's 10 seasons, and it seems like a super like funny like comedy show that you could like watch with like your friends, or just if you wanted like a more of a funny show. So that's not really like my preferred like style of show. I like more like mystery kind of shows, but I watched it and it's super good, and I know a lot of people really like it, so I'm gonna put it on here to recommend to you guys. Next is The Office. This also got recommended to me. I've actually seen the first season of it. It's definitely also like sort of like a comedy type of show. It's like the same as Friends, where they're both like kind of comedy shows, but they're obviously way different shows. So The Office is about like an office full of like friends. I know that sounds like really weird, but it's a super funny show, and Michael Scott and Dwight are literally like so funny, and the show is super good. It's definitely not like my favorite, but I know a ton of people like those. So yeah, like I said, if you're into more like comedy type of shows, then you're definitely gonna like this one. I forget how many seasons there are. I think there's like 8 or something, so it's like also a long show, so if you want to check that out, then you definitely should. So the last one I found off of another Netflix recommendation video, because I was just wondering what other people were recommending, but this last one is called The Five. So I don't know too much about the show because I just watched the first episode just to see if I liked it again. So it's basically about this like it's about these people when they were younger. So there was like 5 of them, and one was like a really young boy, and I don't know too much about their backstory, but basically the little boy died while the 4 other like older kids were like, I don't really know too much about it, but they were like in the forest at like the same time, and they like left him by himself. So basically this boy dies, and it's kind of like following like a mystery about it, and then it's like years later, like when they're all grown up, there was like another murder, and I don't know too much also, but then they find like they start investigating about this little boy from years ago. And from what I know so far, it's super good, and I think it's gonna end up as like a super cool like mystery. And I know not too many people know about this show, so if you want to be like unique and like watch a new show that not everyone's watching, then yeah. I thought that was the last video, but I actually forgot to include my literal one of my favorites from my whole list, which is Gossip Girl. And I watched Gossip Girl literally like so many times also. I love this show a lot, and it's basically about like rich popular kids from New York City, and it kind of sounds like it's basically just like a really weird teen drama about like the life of like super rich kids, and it's kind of like also like a friendship and like love story. I don't really know how to explain the show, but all I know is that it's super good, and I love the fashion in it. If you guys made it to the end of the video, I just wanted to thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe and turn on the post notification bell to get updates whenever I post a new video. And bye guys!